7:52 p.m., but I'm popping into the beginning of this because I had made a mistake. It was Ryan Nagel who was the first. Well, he wasn't actually the first. I think the very first witness was the continuation of Hannah Knowles, questioned by Lally. And then, and she was talking about the blood alcohol content. And then it was Ryan Nagel who was testifying about going to 34 Fairview. Hold on. Oh, mwah. Who testified about going to 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022 to pick up his sister, Julie Nagel, who decided not to actually get a ride with him because she decided to stay a little longer, and she ended up getting a ride home later with Matt and Jen McCabe. So I just wanted to add that. And so I'm making some baby bok choy tofu ramen vegan soup for lunch. There's a big old mess over there. It's 12:46. There's a sidebar. It's day 9. It's Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo. So my thoughts so far, Katie. McLaughlin is testifying right now. It was Ryan Nagel. I misspoke here. Came out, and then it was it, what was her name? Heather Maxim or something, his ex, who was in the car. And then there was Sarah Levinson, who was in the car with Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, and Julie Nagel. But I really wanted to just make some notes that, yet again, Kate, what's her name? Oh my gosh. What's her first name? I already forgot. McLaughlin. She's a paramedic firefighter. And she seems extremely honest, professional. She's answering the questions. And it seems to me that Alan Jackson is trying to make something that isn't a thing. You didn't disclose your relationship with Caitlin Albert, did you? And she's like, well, actually, I did. She was being harassed. And so she reported it, and he said, you didn't disclose it before. You know, and it's like trying to make it seem like there's something nefarious about the fact that the man who she had to pick up off the lawn that morning when Karen Reed came and said, I hit him. And then the other guy was like, you what? And she said, I hit him because that happened to be the house of a girl that she knew in high school who's in like a similar friend group. She said, I have a friend group, she has a friend group. And the larger friend group overlaps. How is that nefarious? Like, why would she disclose that? It's not like something to be disclosed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying about every single thing that the defense is trying to make seem a thing. It just is not a thing. I don't think it's a thing. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm just showing my cool forks. It's over. Like, if she said, I hit him, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Does that really move the needle for you? Whether she's admitting it or wondering aloud. Like, why would she have been in the vicinity of anywhere to be hitting him? Why is that in her mind? Like I said in the video I recorded earlier today that I have not uploaded or anything yet. How could they frame her in such a way where she's basically admitting, at least to the possibility, that she could have hit him? But how did they make her say that? So everybody's lying. She didn't say it, but she said it. So how are you going to get around that? She said herself that she said it. Okay? Too fucking bad they didn't have body cams. I think that if they had body cams, Karen would have been in jail years ago. That's what I really believe. I think that if they had had body cams, she wouldn't have had all this BS ability to try to circumnavigate the law. That's what I think. But I'm going to get back to watching, and I think that, let me see if I wrote down her name. Hold on, whoops. Katie McLaughlin. Katie McLaughlin is the one testifying right now, the paramedic, firefighter, life-saving person. And I don't think I'm going to need this right now. So I'm going to get back to it. Well, although they're probably at their lunch now. I'm at my lunch now. So I have work to do while I listen and make my notes. I have some other notes to share, but I just wanted to capture these notes while they were fresh in my mind. Okay, Katie McLaughlin is done testifying. Let's see, I'm going to go through my notes. Now they're on their lunch break, and my initial thought is, again, it's pretty pathetic. This is all the defense has. I'll get back to Katie. I think the very first witness was the continuation of Hannah Knowles, and then it was Ryan Nagel, and he basically testified that he was in the car with his friend Ricky, who was driving. He was in the back seat with Heather.
He was going to pick up his sister, Julie.
Julie wanted to stay a little longer. She invited him to come in. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to go with his girlfriend back home. They're now broken up. It's his ex. And when they were turning from Crest something onto Fairview, there was another car. It was a black SUV. He was in the back seat. He saw that his friend Ricky let them go first, flashed the lights. They went. They were parked in front of him. He was in the front passenger seat. Wait, did I say he was in the back seat? I think he said he was in the front passenger seat. He saw a woman in the SUV. He saw the dome light on. She had her hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. He didn't see a man in the vehicle. He didn't see a man outside. He didn't see a man standing outside. He didn't see a man going into the house. He didn't see a man laying on the lawn. That's what he testified to. Then Heather, I think it was Maxon, she came. She basically testified to the same thing. She saw a woman in the car. She didn't see a guy. That's all. Okay. Then the next witness was Sarah Levinson. She's a 26-year-old nurse. She's friends with Julie Nagel. She was at the house. It was family and friends. It was festive. Colin came about 30 to 45 minutes. They spoke. The yard was flat, but she didn't really look over there. Then Alan Jackson was saying, when you came out of the house, you would have had to look over the flagpole, right? And her response was, well, I was looking down at my feet. And because I did that video where I know that the house, she said they came out of the closer to the driveway door, which is the one further from the flagpole. The pathway comes out and to the left, which would bring them completely with their backs to where John was laying. So no, they would have had zero reason to look over there because they were going this way. They would have been coming out of the house going this way. So they would have had no particular reason to look all the way over there by the flagpole, which again, diagonally from that door is about 100 feet away. It was dark, it was cold, it was snowing. She said she saw some blades of grass poking out through the snow, but there was some snow, a dusting. And so I said they would not have needed to look that way. They would have needed to go the opposite direction with their backs turned to where John was, with their faces towards the driveway and the cars, not the other way. Then Matt McCabe forgot his jacket. He had to go back into the house to get his jacket. He went through the main door, but she didn't really look at him. She didn't watch him going into the house. And they gave Matt and Jen McCabe had given Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel a ride home. They joked about the sandwiches, the peanut butter sandwiches. Then the police had contacted Julie in October. 9 full months later, it was Trooper Proctor Did she think it was weird that they waited 9 months to contact her? Objection. And was there a light at the flagpole? She didn't see anything. There was no light at the flagpole, and she didn't see anything. Then we got into Katie McLaughlin, who is a paramedic and a firefighter. She saw people when she pulled up. They had no sirens because sirens are used to get cars off the road, and when there's no cars on the road, they don't need to use it. It's unnecessary, and they certainly aren't going to turn them on early in the morning just to wake people up. The reason for sirens is to get cars away from their path. They don't use them just because. So no sirens. And so my impression about Katie was that she was an honest person who has a noble role. She's trying to help people. She's a good person, and it makes me feel really bad. I feel bad for Karen, not because I think that she's a victim of a conspiracy, but because it's just so tragic. It's so tragic that so Katie corroborated, I hit him. And then that trooper, what was his name? Sarah said, "You what?" And she said, "I hit him." But then Katie also clarified that she didn't write it down because she remembered it, and she went to report on that, as well as the things about John, his name, his age, he has no allergies, that stuff. And she said that at that time, she wasn't the lead paramedic who would make reports, because paramedics do make reports, but she said that wasn't her role at that time. She would report to the various people, and then they would make the report. And she did tell them that Karen had said, or she called her the civilian, had said, the distressed civilian had made those statements. She also said she felt bad for her. She said she seemed very distressed, and even though in the video, so this is another thing, he showed a 45-second clip video, or like a 2-minute video, let's say. And then he's like, "Was Karen hysterical there?" And she's like, "Well, I was talking about the whole, was she hysterical there?" And she's like, "Well, you can't, it's a video, there's no sound, you can't really see us." So I screen recorded her whole testimony. I think what I'll do is I will share it as an independent, like a standalone, just because it's quite long. But I was interested in how he was gonna, I was interested in everything, the direct questions, the cross-examination, the redirect, and I feel that it's really sad. It's like so sad, it's so cringe, but ultimately it's this man's life. And I feel that Karen hit him. Jen said that she said, I hit him, standing there next to this female paramedic. The female paramedic said, Karen said, I hit him. The officer said, "You what?" She said, "I hit him." But she also said it wasn't her place. She said, first of all, that's the first homicide that she's ever been involved in. Sounds like the only. She was not an investigator. She was not trained in questioning. She was there to do life-saving, measures on John and to get his information. She said she did report it back. Officer Seraph said, said to go, not to her, but what was it? Said that, we need Officer Good or Sergeant Good. Nobody wrote it down, but multiple people are reporting that they heard her say it. And, she also said, so this was the note I wrote. They do not need to wake up everyone. And what I wanted to pull out of that was that when she said, we don't need to wake up everyone, they pulled up without their sirens. That, to me, is another corroboration of the fact that people don't always wake up just because you pull up to their house with lights flashing. again, especially in a large neighborhood where the lawns are 100-foot wide and 75-foot long, and there's trees lining everybody's yard, in various parts, and it's a blizzard. So he was lying supine on the side of the road, and let's see, and we're going back this way, up off the curb into a lawn. She got to the curb. She brought the stretcher. His head was closer to her from the curb than the feet. He was missing a sneaker. The other two guys that were there, not her, the other paramedics lifted him onto the stretcher. She noticed the fire hydrant nearby. I wonder if he hit his head on that. Firefighter Flamati asked her to gather more info. That's when Karen had come up, and she said Karen seemed like the one who was the most upset and involved with him. So she was asking her about, his name, his age, allergies, health issues. And that's when she said, I hit him. The officer said, you what? She said, I hit him. Jen McCabe was standing next to her when Karen said that. At the time, she didn't know who Jen McCabe was, but she does now. Katie McLaughlin, this was her first homicide she's done. She is not trained as an investigator. She did not attempt to follow up with questions. When she said, I hit him. My note, it's absurd that Alan is trying to prove that Officer Seraph didn't reply. There's this little clip, and he's like, do you see him respond? And there's no sound on the video. It's far away. You can't hear anything they're saying. You could, hardly see. And it's like, she said, I don't think this video is a good representation of, what was happening. You can't hear anything. And again, like, you show a 45-second clip of a multi-hour fiasco, or however long it took. I don't know, to be honest. Long thing. And even if it's just a half an hour, like, I have no idea how long it took by the time they got there, and then they took his body and they were questioning. I don't know. And then they got her into the police car to take her to the hospital. Gotta be my shirt. It's raining. It's cold. So, for Alan Jackson to show this, like, little tiny clip and say, she's not hysterical there, is she? It's like, well, maybe not in that little clip, but, and she said, well, that's when she did stop running around at that moment. But then you can see, literally, right after they walk away, you see Karen, like, to me, yes, she does look hysterical or extremely distressed and upset. Also, I think, again, it was a really, 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 really stretch, really grasping, throwing spaghetti at the wall kind of thing when Alan Jackson was questioning Katie McLaughlin about her relationship with Caitlin Albert. And, so in the first trial, when he first asked her, and she said, I went to high school with someone with that name. And then he showed all these Facebook. Then he showed these Facebook pictures from, like, various years, a group events of them together. And she's like, well, yeah, like, we went to high school together. She's got a friend group. I've got a friend group. Those friend groups, like, overlap. We have mutual friends. So we've been at things over the years together. The whole thing that Alan Jackson was trying to claim, I suppose, it was just such a shot in the dark, such a, like, stab in the nothingness, such a nothing burger. He's trying to make the connection that because Katie McLaughlin, who was a paramedic, that Karen said, I hit him, that actually Karen never said, I hit him. But in fact, Katie is fabricating this, or maybe Jen McCabe fabricated it, and Katie is corroborating this lie, this fabrication to frame Karen to pretend that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I hit him. You what? I hit him. Because Katie literally went to middle school with the daughter of the guy whose house it happened to be on the lawn of, and because they went to middle school together and they went to high school together and they happened to be friends with mutual friends and they're Facebook friends with each other and there's photos of them in group situations. She knows somebody who lives in the town that she works in, that she grew up in, where she like literally works. Oh my God. Really, Alan? That's what you got? You got this woman is going to
GetLoveDreamingBeach.com.
Paramedic, firefighter. I'm not saying it never happens. Of course, people in those kind of roles, they're corrupt sometimes. They lie. They frame people. They do. I'm not saying it never happens. But again, it's like she's going to put her entire career and life and livelihood and her freedom. She's going to put her own freedom on the line to frame a woman she doesn't even know because she's friends with mutual friends of the girl who lives there, or maybe she doesn't even live there anymore because wasn't she off in college, or wasn't she grown by then? So because she works in the town where she grew up in, there's a high chance that anybody who she ends up helping on any given day is going to be somebody she knows, or know somebody she knows, or live in a house that she may have been in before, or be friends with somebody. Like, it's just so absurd to me. It's so pathetic. It's such a cringe fest of pathetic, sad little trying to piece together these red string tied to the thing with the nails and the going in all directions kind of situation. That's what it's giving. It's giving oh God, Alan, how do you even have self-respect to stand up there and to badger this woman, a paramedic firefighter who tried to help save John O'Keefe's life the morning that she responded to the call of a man in the snow? She literally just tried to help save his life. She's reporting what happened. What does she have to gain by lying and saying, Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? Oh, I guess Jen McCabe, they're paying her? They're paying her on the side? Again, for what reason? It just doesn't make any sense. It's a house of cards built by a malignant narcissist who's trying to scrape together from the bottom of the barrel, from the far reaches of social media posts that are decades old, trying to patch together this, you knew this person, therefore you're part of this conspiracy. What, dude? I'm just showing up to do my job, trying to save a life. And, your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. You know what? I hit him. And she said, I didn't know what she hit him with. And then when Brennan came back for redirect and said, did you know if she meant a fist, a foot, a Lexus? No, I have no idea. She reported back to the officers the paramedics in the ambulance with John. She's saying she hit him. So, like I said, we haven't gotten to all those shoddy investigations, and that may create enough reasonable doubt for the jury. But I feel like at this point, it's really, really pathetic what the defense has to try to combat this. And it's almost like I just feel like Karen would have been in such a better position if right then and there when she was saying I hit him, if she had just said, I think I might have, like, he's laying here. Like last night he got out of the car to go to the party and I pulled off, you know, and I just thought he was going to walk in. It was bad weather. I couldn't really see. She's, you know, she could have said, he got out of the car. I thought he was going to go into the party and, you know, it was so bad weather and I couldn't really see him. So I just drove off and I just assumed that he went into the party. But now that, like, he's here where I left him, maybe I hit him. If she had just said that, I mean, I guess they would have said, but you were drunk. And she was likely, I think actually, from the tests that they did, because they ended up, you know, 51-50ing her and getting her to the hospital. And they did do like blood and alcohol testing. And I think they actually only tested her blood for alcohol. And, oh yeah, there was that Hannah Knowles who finished up this morning, I believe, as well. And she did give the, you know, they tested it and they did all these various formulas, and it seemed like her blood alcohol was at the legal limit. So, you know, it seems as if, you know, I guess she probably didn't want, you know, aggravated DUI, vehicular manslaughter under the influence. In Massachusetts, I'm reading over here, the maximum sentence for causing a death while driving drunk, operating under the influence, causing death, also known as an OUI, manslaughter, operating under the influence, or DUI, driving under the influence, is 20 years in state prison. Additionally, there's a minimum mandatory sentence of 5 years in state prison. Fines can also be imposed up to $25,000. It's a felony. Carries a minimum mandatory sentence of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years in state prison. Your license can be suspended for a minimum of 15 years and potentially for life. So if she had said right then, oh my God, I think that I might have done this, and she tried to plead down, and like she got her good lawyers to say it was horrible visibility, she had no, you know, it was a total accident, maybe try to like say I didn't drink as much as I really drank, you know, she could have maybe got out in 5 years. I don't know, maybe she could have finagled something and got probation. But now she's, I mean, some people think she's going to get off for not guilty, and that they should literally prosecute Jen and Brian. It's like, what? It's so, this world has gotten to a really weird and creepy place. There's a lot of fucked up shit that's happening out there. There's a lot of disgusting mindsets that people have out there. A lot of people think that totally innocent people should be just snatched up off the street, not given any opportunity at all to know what's going on, to defend themselves, to put on a case, aka also known as due process. The person who is, in my opinion, illegally an illegal, illegitimate, unelected person up in that bitch, in that big old fat house, that's Blanco. I don't believe that bitch should be there. I don't think he just, I don't think he rightfully is there. Anyway, the kind of mindset that's out here up in this world right now, that's prevalent, it, you know, it's just, it's spilling into my mindset of like how I'm viewing how some people are looking at this case, and how it is true that the investigation was shoddy. The lead investigator, Trooper Proctor, he was fired because he was a bad cop. You know, he was doing inappropriate texting and talking bad about a potential suspect, a suspect, and, you know, I don't know what else he did. But again, does that automatically mean that Karen is innocent or that she didn't hit the man. Of course not. Of course it does not mean that. And to believe that all of these independent, professional people whose job it is to help people and save people who are hurt or sick or injured or in trauma, that they went out of their way to lie and frame a woman that they don't even know for a man that they don't even know. It just seems ludicrous. It is like that other commenter guy said, a reasonable doubt means it has to be reasonable. It cannot be based on these insane, complex plot lines that, you know, even the most ridiculous show in season 10 probably wouldn't put out. Or maybe that's when they put it out. Like, okay, we need any kind of story. This is crazy. Anyway, I think that trial is coming back soon, and I'll make another note later. Alrighty, it's 4 p.m. and the day is done for trial day 9, Karen Reed, and it was Sergeant Gallagher. So I just popped on to Emily to see what she was saying at the moment, and she had just finished doing her, you know, what do you call it, like DEFCON, flashy, and then she says, what the fuck? You just don't need to write a report, I guess. And I immediately clicked off because that's not what he said. He didn't say he didn't have to write a report. He said that he was the supervisor and he had to make sure that other people wrote reports and that they submitted their reports. So today I did not watch any of Emily D. Baker's streaming it except for that moment because, like I said earlier, I want to be able to listen to the lawyer's questions, listen to the witness's answer, listen to the judge and what she has to say without a little person on the side talking, interjecting, interrupting, and guiding the chat, in my opinion, towards a certain perspective. And again, I'm literally a talking head, talking about it, giving my perspective. That's exactly what I'm doing. But I want to be able to be a witness to this trial and actually hear what's being said and allow myself to perceive it my own way. And yes, I do enjoy listening to the other people's opinions, just like people seem to enjoy listening to my opinions. And I appreciate that. But I also spent a little bit of time looking at the chat going by in Law and Crime, and I genuinely believe that the people who think Karen Reed is innocent, they are believing salacious, outrageous talking points that the defense has put out. Multiple people have various stories of what they think actually happened. Some people kept saying, oh, John went into the basement where they were play fighting and then the dog attacked him and somebody killed him. Colin Albert, Brian Albert, Matt McCabe, Brian Higgins. Somehow they all murdered him for some unknown reason, which is still a secret. And then somehow they dragged him outside and put him exactly on top of his phone, right by the flagpole, where multiple people witnessed seeing him. And they were able to Jedi mind trick Karen into saying either, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And or I hit him. You what? I hit him. Testified to by multiple people corroborating, but I guess all those people being liars and murderers and co-conspirators makes more sense to some of y'all than one angry woman who had drinking too much, who was probably getting broken up with by her boyfriend, who earlier that day had apparently given her a pillow in the face instead of a kiss, then said something that upset her, which she then proceeded to harass him all day long with text messages and phone calls endlessly, trying to get him to admit that he wasn't into her anymore. All the while she is trying to cheat on him with his own fucking friend who was in that house, which is a motivation for her to not go in that house. Unbeknownst to John, which means he had no motivation to not go in that house as far as he knew. He was going to friend's house. Friends. Karen was the person who had every reason on earth to not go inside that house. Why? Because there was a handful of adults, one of which was the man that she had been trying to fuck via text messages for weeks, if not a month. And what? It's like five, 6 adults and some young 20s family. Of course she was going to feel uncomfortable. Of course it was going to be awkward. It was a lot different than a big old bar with a bunch of people talking and drinking and being loud, where she could just blend in and ignore Brian Higgins, which is exactly what she did. And the idea of going into that house where she knows damn well she's been trying to fuck this Brian Higgins guy, and it's just going to be them and a couple other folks, that was probably uncomfortable. Then the fact that just driving there and Jen saying it's near Ashley's house or Bella's mom or whatever she said, and that sparked her getting jealous. She said on that docuseries thing that there's a woman that John was hooking up with not long before me. Ashley. Karen said she was expecting to find him on the side of the road. The anticipation was the most dreadful. I'm paraphrasing. Karen said in that docuseries clips, I know I said I hit him, but did I say it as many times as they said I said it? So how did they frame her and get her to say, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. How did they get her to say that? Even if you don't believe that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, how did they get her to say, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? How? How did they get that thought? Like I said, Jedi mind trick inserted into her head. There's a lot of weird coincidences happening in order for them to have perfectly framed her in this perfect exact way where she implicated herself. Seems kind of weird. I think it seems pretty weird. Now, my thoughts about the solo cups and the leaf blower, now that I've heard about it again, I mean, you know, he said, the Gallagher guy, like, okay, so Alan Jackson was like, why didn't you go back to Canton and get the proper things? And he's like, well, the snow was coming down. It was a blizzard. And he basically felt that if he didn't do it right then, he was going to lose. He said it was like now or never. Again, my words. And I do agree. If your option is just leave it there, pick it up in your hand, or use some solo cups that had been, in the plastic. He didn't say it this time, but last time they said that it was an unopened package that he opened for the first time. I don't know why they didn't re-emphasize that this time. Maybe they will tomorrow. But, is it the best? No. But is it proof that they framed her? Definitely not. Absolutely not. And he even said, if somebody else's DNA got in the cup, it would benefit you. potentially. So those are my thoughts for day 9. I also recorded about half hour, 40 minutes of myself talking earlier this morning, completing my video about human averages for hearing and sight distances and stuff like that, and in a storm. So once again, then as I was listening to what I mentioned about Katie McLaughlin and how she talked about they only use sirens to get the cars off the road, and they definitely weren't using sirens on that quiet street early in the morning. You know, there's no need to wake up people. And I had pointed out how she said that, and that also made me think that, you know, that's another piece of testimony that's corroborating Brian, Albert, and Nicole saying that they didn't wake up, and Alan Jackson and Karen Reed's defense team is trying to make that seem utterly unbelievable, just like they're trying to make it seem utterly unbelievable that they didn't see John's body on the lawn where nobody was looking 100 feet over there at night in the dark in a blizzard. And they're trying, you know, that's another thing that people who comment online, they're like, oh my God, they didn't even bother to look out the window. It's like, well, I don't bother to look out the window either when I'm a fucking sleep, okay? And sometimes I'm awake. Like the other day, I was home and I was awake, and look at all these windows I have in the front. These look out right onto the street. I've got those windows, and I got this window which can look out. I don't know if you can see it. There's that window right there. I can see cars driving by. Look, you might be able to see one now. Oh no. Okay. But sometimes I don't see shit. Even if I'm awake, because I'm not necessarily paying attention. I'm not always staring out the window. And the other day, I went in to talk to my kids, and they have windows on like this side of the house, this wall, but over there. And then I saw, when I went in there, I was like, oh, there's a bunch of cops and whatever. I don't know if it was cops or ambulance, so I don't know. They didn't have sirens, but they had 2 or 3 vehicles with their lights flashing, and I hadn't even noticed it. Wide awake, because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm just saying, them trying to make it seem, again, the word nefarious keeps coming up, because the whole defense's argument is that everything that everybody else did was nefarious, and they're lying, and they're covering up, and they're framing Karen, and they're making it seem like she did something that they did, and that they're not trustworthy, and they're liars. And again, trial number 2, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. I'm not buying it. It doesn't seem reasonable. It doesn't seem believable. Alan Jackson seems to me like a bully. And then, so I also made additional notes that Gallagher, the retired sergeant, I think, he also reiterated that there were no sirens, and he said, oh no, definitely no sirens. And he said, you only use sirens to move traffic off the road so you can get to the emergency or get, you know, the person to the hospital. It's not for like drama or show. Now, I'm paraphrasing. It's my interpretation of what he said, but thinking back about his testimony and that aspect of it, I remember getting the sense that he was saying, you know, they don't put sirens on just because it's an emergency. They put sirens on to move cars out of the way so they can get through where they need, and they definitely didn't have them on that morning. Okay. And again, you know, the first trial, and I think even some comments I've made in anticipation of the leaf blower to collect evidence, and I thought, like, that's ridiculous. It seems to me like such a bad idea, but he was proud of his idea, and he even had a video of it, which I think we may have seen the first time. It was a year ago, and it was a long trial, and I've been doing a lot of things since then, so obviously I don't remember every detail. But they showed the video of him leaf blowing it, and I did kind of think that, I mean, what if they blew away some stuff? But he was able to find the broken glass and some coagulated frozen blood, and one very big piece of evidence that I think matters a lot is that the spot where he was snowblowing and found the glass also had what Attorney Brennan pointed out. He said, "What's that brown stuff there on the ground?" And he said, "Oh, that's just the dirt." And while Brennan did not make it a point to extra point it out, what I got out of that was the witnesses had testified that when they saw the car with the woman with the dome light on and they could see a woman in the SUV, it had just started to snow, but you could still see the grass, you could still see the ground. Then when Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson were leaving, I think it was at was it at 1:30 or 2? Oh, she said, I think one of them said that she knows she got home before 2 a.m. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was one or the other. And so they left around 1:30. And that she said there was a dusting, there was some snow accumulating, but she could still see blades of grass poking up. So it wasn't a lot. And so what does that mean? That means that at the time when John was dropped off, there was not snow on the ground. And so the fact that there was bare ground underneath his body leads me to believe yet another piece of evidence stacking on top of all of these little bits of evidence. The cold temperature of his phone never going above until Carrie Roberts picked it up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which leads me to think the phone was outside the whole night. He was on top of the phone. The ground underneath him had some parts had no snow, which makes me also think he hit that ground around 12:30 when Karen dropped him off. Katie McLaughlin talks about the fire hydrant being nearby and that his head was closer to the curb than his feet and that he was missing a sneaker. And Gallagher mentioned the burn, I think he said, the piece of the curb that was curved, between the street and the sidewalk, and him wondering did he trip over that and hit his head. So again, people swear that there's no way that his body could have been hit by a car. Well, what if she struck him some way where his arm got hit by the SUV, and that maybe he hit his head on the fire hydrant, maybe he hit it on the sidewalk, on the concrete, maybe he smashed it on the frozen snow. We don't know. But the man is dead, and I do believe to this moment she hit him. She hit him. She hit him. She hit him. I'll watch more tomorrow. Join me there. And don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. CatLoveDreamingPeach.com. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, share the video with anybody who might be interested in it. Join me on my Patreon channel, my YouTube channel. You can be a member or join for free on either of those. Plus on my website, CatLoveDreamingPeach.com. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.